Yo, as a military brat, okay, as somebody who came from a military family, I think I'm reasonably qualified to talk on some things regarding like veterans, military, things along these lines. And now, this puts me up against in the marketplace of idea, in the Thunderdome of interlocuting, debating, whatever, with some other like weirdo military people. And so there's this group of people, okay? They're called the Warrior Poet Society. You probably heard about them. They're this like right-wing pro-military channel that likes the sort of like, boy, I be killing people, but boy, I also have a sensitive side. I write poetry and I tippity type on my typewriter, and I like riding my bike, and sometimes I read and I write poetry. It's very cool. I kill people, but I also write poetry. And I also play the acoustic guitar. So it's that kind of thing, right? Recently released a video. It's called "Our Military is Shrinking. Here's Why," which is true. We are, yeah, the wholesome killer, right? We are like experiencing, some people call it a military crisis, but there are less and less people becoming soldiers day in, day out and everything. And so this is the thumbnail that he made. Why they won't join. I don't know who the they is. National Guard, right? Oh my gosh. There's a queer person. I can't believe gay people exist. All of this type of stuff. I would like to take a look at this as somebody who's come, like I said, as somebody who's come from like a military family. I thought it could be quite interesting to see what could be going on. So let's see what the Warrior Poet Society has to say. I think these are the guys, one of the last guys that interviewed Madison Cawthorn before he got booted out of Congress. So let's see what this is about.
People have a poor perception of the military in general. But why do you think that is? Where is that poor perception coming from? See, I think I know exactly why the military is shrinking.
So when somebody opens up stuff like this, all right, you know you're in for a ride. There are very like reasonable reasons for why people wouldn't want to join the military. But instead of it going to be things like, I don't know, like getting killed, disease, killing people, especially when they don't deserve it, things along those lines, he's going to be like, it's wokeism, women, gay people, cringe, you know?
Guys, we're closing out the summer season with an epic
Damn, that's crazy. Nobody cares.
Warrior Poet Society. Today, we're talking about how our U.S. military is shrinking. That's right. All the different branches of our military are struggling to meet minimum quotas. Recruiters are offering massive bonuses, more than ever before, just to please sign up. And furthermore, they're really trying to capitalize on social media, Twitter, Instagram, all those kind of big tech oligarchs that hate us, trying to leverage that to get more recruits because people just aren't signing up. Now, as I'm diving into this subject to figure out what in the world's going on, I checked out some of the mainstream media to find out that they're just completely misdiagnosing the problem, in my opinion. Warrior Poet Society, we're a veteran-owned and operated company. We employ multiple different veterans in our training company, and all of our kind of industry friends here in the gun world, well, we know something about the military, and we stay very, very close to it. However, what I see in the mainstream media is a misdiagnosing of the problem and applying the wrong solutions. They're saying, hey, parents really just want their kids to be in college, for example, as if that hasn't always been true. Or, hey, maybe it's COVID challenges as recruiters can't meet face-to-face with people. I'm like, all right. Or perhaps it's people have a poor perception of the military in general. And I'd say, absolutely, that is definitely.
Okay, so let's touch on some of these things, okay? Parents, including those who are newly middle class, often encourage their kids to go to college before selecting a career, which hurts recruiting for enlisting personnel, changing in the minds. So this is true, okay? This is true. This is a fact that parents are pushing their kids to go more to college. It is just factual that more people are going to college these days, and less people want like careers, and less people want to be a part of the military because of that, right? That's just kind of true. I know that the military has like a college program. That's true, right? But with that being said, parents there are more options now for people, and it's harder for recruiters to make a convincing argument for why you should go to the military when they could just go to college instead of go to college and be a part of the military. I don't know why you would like deflect from this. This is a real issue. Agrees that COVID hurt recruiting, but that's another challenge, the political pressure of some school districts not to let recruiters on campus. This is true as well. This one's a little lot. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the whole like letting recruiters onto campus and then like setting up a little like table outside of the cafeteria, stopping kids and being like, "Hey, you like guns?" And it's like, "Hey, you play Call of Duty?" You know, that type of thing is just like, it's a weird ethical quandary, you know?
Perhaps it's people have a poor perception of the military in general. I'd say absolutely, that is definitely one of them. But why do you think that is? Where is that poor perception coming from? See, I think I know exactly why the military is shrinking. At least here's 4 major reasons why. First and foremost, there's a narrative pushed by academia, through the mainstream media, through political channels that America is evil. And if America is evil, the young recruit and the young soldiers faced with
what is this? The nation's largest teaching union pledge to teach critical race theory, the ideology that claims America is irredeemably rooted in racism. What is, and I need to find this. What website did you pull this from? I'm seeing a couple. I'm seeing the National Review. That's a right-wing website. Because this is, just so you know, this is a biased quote. This is not a real quote. So, sir, I'm sorry. This is a biased quote. And this is not what critical race theory is. Critical race theory just talks about how race intersects with how we interact with people, and how it's one of the main drivers for how we interact with people in the West here, stemming from very obvious transatlantic slave trade. You know, that's not dumb. That's not like a bad way. That's not saying that America's irredeemably racist. That's just how like history works. Right? That's just like how history works. I'm sorry, but like racism is really important when it comes to America. And like how this country was formed. That's a factual statement. You can't argue against that statement. And so instead of arguing against that statement, they have to take some like weird auxiliary motions. And honestly, this isn't doing good for like making people think that if you're a brown person, you're going to have a good time in the military. Okay. I'm sorry.
The idyllic problem of, well, why would I die for a country that's evil? And that's really a catch-22. You're asking somebody to die for an ideal that they don't actually hold. Of course, military would suffer from that. Of course, people aren't going to want to sign up to suffer and potentially die for a country that they think is evil. There's cost to America bashing, and when patriotism dies, you can't expect to have a full, thriving, able-bodied military. The second reason why the military...
So here's the thing. Are you going to like contend with any of those points? Because like, I'm not sure if I'd say like a country in and of itself is evil. A country can have like bad politicians that do bad things with the country's military and money. But with that being said, I mean, we haven't done a lot of great things with our military in a long while. Okay. Like some people even say that we haven't done anything good with our military since World War II, which you can make a reasonable argument for that. It's just, you know, especially during like the Cold War and everything, when it comes to like what we do in like Yemen and the Middle East and Africa, like Somalia, what the military has done in like Vietnam, as well as like what some like intelligence and things along those lines have done in like Cuba, in Central and South America, right? Like it's reasonable for somebody to not want to be a part of that. I'm sorry, but here's the big thing, okay? As somebody who comes from a military family, people not wanting to go to the military is America and the military's fault, not like lefties and people who say, "Oh, military bad." That's not their fault, okay? And honestly, history, what they want to do, okay? The more we teach like real history that teaches people what this country has done and what we've been up to, where the term like Banana Republic came from, what happened before and after 9/11, right? Less people are going to want to be a part of that. I'm sorry. Less people are going to want to be a part of like the torture camps that happened in the Middle East. Less people want to be a part of like shooting children and in like being a drone pilot to like bomb children in the Middle East. Okay. Less people want to do that. Less people want to be a part of like a war crime. I'm sorry. And so because of that, there are less people who want to be a part of the military because the military themselves made it undesirable and no longer seemed like a thing of virtue to join the military anymore. Why would you want to be a part of that? Why would you want to be a pawn to be thrown into like the military industrial complex war to be like a foot soldier for Lockheed Martin to give more money to their shareholders, right? You don't want to. I'm sorry. And if the military wants to do something about that, if politicians want to do something about that, then maybe they should give you a good reason for like us being like us standing up to the values that we say that we espouse so much and that we say that we like agree with so much. Because honestly, a lot of people think that it's mostly just kind of a lie. And honestly, they have a good argument for that being the case.
Is shrinking. Get vaccinated or you're fired or you're not admitted in the first place. Multiple times over the last few months. I'm remembering about 3 times just recently where young folks will come up to me and be like, hey, John, I'm thinking about joining the military. I want to be an Army Ranger. I'm like, hey, way to go. Army Rangers lead the way. But I'll say, hey, are you vaccinated? And these particular people said, no, I'm not. I'm like, all right, well, very well. Are you willing to get vaccinated? And they said, no, I'm not. And I said, well, then the issue is completely moot. If you won't get vaccinated, you're not able to join the military. They're kicking dudes out. Right now, we have instructors, former vets on staff that literally ran into our employment because they wouldn't get vaccinated. A lot of our special operations community, some of them have just completely hit the deck and got chaptered out of the military or faced incredible pressure and difficulty because they refused to be vaccinated. And again, don't say I'm making a stand one way or the other. I'm just saying, hey, these type of folks operate by a certain ideal, right? That's why you join the military, is because you're valuing your ideal of loving country and other people more than you love your own life, for instance. Well, that kind of idealism isn't bullied so easily. So if you force a vaccination, they'll just say, I'm not going to do it. I said I'm not going to do it. And then they won't. You face them with no option.
He's running anti-vax. Yeah, here's the thing. Okay. That's a them problem. I'm sorry. You should talk to these guys and tell them that there's something wrong with them. If they, like, obviously they don't care that much about, like, saving America if they won't take, like, a vaccine, you know? If you just don't. I'm sorry. If you don't, you just don't care that much about your stated ideals. Those ideals are paper thin. You are a paper tiger. If you're like, yeah, I'm willing to go freaking bomb all these people. I'm willing to go shoot all these people. I'm willing to send a freaking armored vehicle and mow down as many human beings as possible to save America. All right, because I love this country. I'll die, bro. I'll get my head cut off with a rusty spoon if that means I can save one American person. Vaccine? What? No. Actually, I'm done. If that's it, I'm sorry. Apparently, you just didn't care that much in the first place. You just didn't care that much in the first place. If you're like, I'm perfectly okay with getting all my toenails ripped off by in like an ISIS torture chamber to save America, but I won't take a vaccine. I'm not gonna lie. It seems like you're just not. You really don't have your heart in it the way that you thought that you did. The military always had mandatory vaccinations. The military always had mandatory, you always had to keep up with your health, right? There's a reason why you can't go to the military if you have certain diseases. There's a reason why you can't go into the military if you don't take certain precautions. And the reason why you can't stay in the military if you gain a certain amount of weight and you're like no longer sort of like combat ready, because that weakens military effectiveness, right? And so there's no reason for you to get like a free pass with not. What happens if you're stationed? What happens if you decide not to get a vaccine and your super sick Navy 6 badass team thing is about to happen, but then you catch a cold or the flu or preventable disease because you were so shitty that you didn't want to get a vaccine? What happens then? What happens then, huh? And then you can't go on the mission, and then like America's safety is put at risk because simply you didn't want to get a vaccine. Apparently you just didn't care that much. You just don't care that much. Be honest, you just don't care that much if you don't want to get a vaccine. We've always had mandatory vaccines. It's shitty that conservatives have gone so far. Now it's not only the COVID vaccine, but it's all vaccines that a lot of right wingers now question, to the point where preventable diseases and diseases we thought that we were able to eradicate are coming back. There's no reason why we should have polio outbreaks these days. There's no reason why kids should be put back into iron lungs and should be like wheelchair bound for the rest of their lives because simply because their parents didn't want to get them vaccines anymore. Okay, that's not something that should happen. It's your fault. You don't care about other people. You don't care about saving yourself. You don't care about saving America. What you care about is some like thin, vague imagination about like doing the right thing because somebody told you that you should, so you won't, right? That's what you really care about. And because of that, honestly, I think it's far better for you to not be in the military than be in the military, if I'm going to be honest with you.
other than to just get out of the military. So the vaccine policy absolutely has caused a shrinking in the military, and it's absolutely hurting recruitment. Now, a third reason why our American military is shrinking, it's because young soldiers join to play war games, not woke games. And so when you abscond the United States military and you use your command structure to play sociological games that the progressives don't realize these have never been tried before, you're undermining a meritocracy with this kind of everyone gets an equal outcome, this inclusiveness policy. Well, that's antithetical to a meritocracy. Daily Wire recently reported on some of these.
Daily Wire. Listen, I'm not biased. These things here, let me read Daily Wire. Okay, buddy. What meritocracy? Yeah. Here's a wild thing, okay? Here's a crazy, wacky, wild, and incredible thing. You may not have thought about this before, but when you let racism, sexism, homophobia, and other hate-filled ideas fester in divisions and groups and companies in the military, that weakens combat effectiveness. Okay, when you're in the trenches, all right, when you're in the trenches and you guys are like fighting for your lives and to like hold a point in or like hold like a strategic zone in the actual military, I'm sorry, but you not being able to trust the person that you're with, you not being able to trust the group that you're with because of their race, because of their gender or ethnicity or something, or like the talks that you're doing and like the things that you say to people make people not want to trust you, that puts everybody at risk. I'm sorry. This has been so well known. I don't know what he's talking about, that like, oh, this has never been tried before. We've known that this is bad for the military and military effectiveness since like, I think like the Revolutionary War, honestly. Like there have been writings on this since like World War I. There have been writings on this since like the 1800s, honestly. And so like we know that this is a problem. We know that this is an issue, even before then. Possibly, but like specifically in the West, like we know that you can't do that, and so that's why these things have become commonplace. That's why even before there are like actual like set rules, and set like actual like overarching military structure rules for things like inclusiveness, things like anti-racism, things like anti-sexism and anti-homophobia, that in these little groups, and my parents have like even talked about this before, that they're like, I don't care what you look like, I don't care where you came from, I don't care who you are, we're like one here because we need to all survive. And it doesn't make any sense that this is like a bad thing. And it doesn't make any sense that these like are bad for that to be bad for the military. It's just proved empirically that that's just not the case. It's just not. All right. And the proof in the pudding, America, we're the strongest military force ever, even though we are the them army or whatever. Okay. We could wipe Russia off the face of the earth in like any day. Any day, any time in the day, that could happen. Probably also with China. We could wipe China off the face of the earth as well, if we so choose. Disregarding nukes. If it was just erase the entire country, just like destroy the entire military and like throw literally everything at it, yeah, there's a high possibility. But I don't know. It's just like these same people, they have like the same talking points over and over and over again, that this is like apparently
games.
Sorry, that this is so bad and like the woke games are cringe or whatever. But we still have like the strongest military, and it's actually only getting stronger. And the other countries just cannot keep up with like their cool Chinese sort of become a Shanghai warrior, and Russia will destroy the them army. I don't know. Apparently, I mean, like, our them army helping out Ukraine is turning Russian soldiers' pronouns into he, him to was, were. So, I mean, like, what are you going to say? What are you going to do?
There was an Air Force drag show in Woke Diversity Festival at Langley. If you jump over the Marines or the Air Force or the National Guard social media pages, you'll see that they joined proudly in the Pride Month celebrating LGBTQ stuff. I personally got in a little fight with the National Guard over this instance where they doubled down on the Pride Month thing. I want you to see my dialogue. I'll read it to you here. They put a picture of a young specialist. It says, Pride Month shows how far we've come in the past decade. In the beginning, I was nervous to let others know that I'm a lesbian. That was until I shipped a basic training and met a fellow lesbian drill sergeant. Seeing an out and proud gay woman in that role was very empowering for me as a closeted 18-year-old. I want to be that person for other LGBTQ plus soldiers. Now, I ended up responding to the National.
That sounds based. That's somebody got inspired to go even further in the military, and then he comes out like, how fucking dare you, homo.
Guard. And then they responded back. Here's their response. They said, "We know we sit on the shoulders of giants. That walk happens daily." Simultaneously is an Instagram post that celebrates some of the soldiers in our ranks. Hey, why not celebrate soldiers in our ranks? What's so wrong with this post, you might ask? I responded to the National Guard that none of those military giants focused on the private sexual preferences of their soldiers. Celebrating soldiers for soldiering is nice. Do that. And you do that by giving medals when they do good military stuff. The system already has ways of celebrating and recognizing. Celebrating a soldier because they do gay stuff is offensive and wildly off course for our nation's military.
It's offensive? Offensive? He's triggered? Wait, he's actually offended? I can't. Gay person says that they're happy to be a gay soldier. Random man in snapback goes, this is offensive to our country. How dare you? They're recruiting. What are you talking? They're recruiting. They're showing that they're not racist, bro. What? Well, okay. Here's the thing. What if does he not want? Okay, here's the thing. What if this makes more people become a part of the military? Is this weakening the military? How is this weakening the military? Bringing more people in and being like well respected and integral parts of the institution is now offensive? I'm sorry, but like when like don't ask before, especially before don't ask don't tell was around, these people were getting shitted on 24/7 and weren't even allowed in the military. And now we're being like, yo, not only do we allow you, we respect you, and you will always be a part of us. Now he's like, we're offended. Okay. Once again, I'm not the reason why the military's shrinking. It's not me. I didn't do anything wrong.
Glory, please. That's just one man's opinion. Hey, heterosexual, homosexual, I need you guys ready to protect against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's what I need you to do. I need you to be ready to stop bad people with guns. I need you at heightened sense of military readiness. Then the sexual preferences of the soldiers in your ranks should be irrelevant, not a grounds for praising somebody. Military is a meritocracy.
Just so you know, these two things don't have anything to do with each other. So this has nothing to do with you being military prepared and celebrating inclusivity are not antithetical to each other. Okay. They're not antithetical to each other at all. So it's not like when like the gay brigade is down there in the trenches and then they just bombed a group of terrorists and it's not like what's going to happen is that their sergeant comes to them and they're like, you did so well, sweetie. Your bombing was so great. You were so fabulous. That was so fabulous. Here's your homosexual reward for being gay homosexual. Congratulations. And then everyone goes, gay. That doesn't happen. Okay. These two things are antithetical. People just don't want to like spend their life in an institution that they know is going to hate them. Okay. That they know is going to be like shitty to them, that they know is going to be discriminatory to them. Okay. And like same with women. All right. This happened recently and that's still going on, that commanding officers are like sexually assaulting their subordinate soldiers. There's been so much of this happening. And it's happened like over and over and over and over again. There was a soldier that killed themselves not too long ago about this, and everybody kept a rap on it because nobody wanted to get like dishonorably discharged and then not get their like free college waiver and not get their like pension and not get all this stuff like after you get kicked out of the military, after you like spent so much time and risked your life there. And so like, guess what? My unit had 80 suicides in 1 year. Yeah, that's not good for anybody who's been a part of the military. Okay. You ever heard this before? When it comes to like suicide, okay, in the military, you know, you go to your subordinate or something. Your commanding officer goes to their subordinate, or you're the subordinate, and your commanding officer comes to ask you how you're doing, and you're like living the dream, right? Just so you know, in the military, when your commanding officer or somebody else walks up to you and asks how you're doing, and you say living the dream, that's code for I'm going to kill myself. Okay, unironically, this happens a lot. and the like incredibly hard structure that builds like silence and like things being like that builds like a lot of like apathy towards wrongdoing inside the military weakens the military. It weakens the people in there. And for like what's more important to me than like the weakening of the military is like weakening of is the disrespect of like the human beings that are there who spend their lives trying to what the stated goal of the military, which would be to like protect our nation, right? That's horrible. I can't imagine somebody who spends so much time to throw away their lives to protect other people to be treated like that. I can't imagine it. It's horrible. It truly is disgusting. And this guy isn't helping that. I'm sorry, like it or not, gay people exist, women exist, and these people are going to have to be a part of the military. Black people exist, and they're going to have to be a part of the military. Okay? Hazing, bullying, abuse, assault. All of this is pretty well documented to be a part of the military. And there are people who have been kicked out, who have been silenced, who have been dishonorably discharged, who have had to bring claims against the military because of the massive silence apparatus that have been built to keep the people who are doing the worst things, who are really weakening the military, in the place of power over the people who are just trying to protect their nation, right? It's horrible. It sucks.
Do good military stuff, get military awards. That's the praise. And that's the problem here as we play these woke military games. Why can't the military just do military? So why can't we just be the military? Oh, it's because woke left progressives want to push their agenda forcefully, and they're using social media channels primarily to do that, but they're also being forced to attend all these inclusivity kind of things, which I think does a great, at best, it's a distraction against what military people really should be doing. At worst, it's undermining the very fabric. You're playing woke games when you should be focused on war games.
This is just low IQ and it doesn't make any sense. Makes no sense whatsoever. If you have, here's the thing, okay? You can bring up research to say that like teaching this type of stuff is worse or bad for the military. If you would like to, you can, if you want. This isn't any, all you're saying are the things that happened. And now you're like just saying that they're bad, but he's provided no research whatsoever saying that they're bad. He just says that he just looks at things that are happening and then thinks that they're bad just because he doesn't agree with them. That's fine. I'm sorry. The people who are in charge of the military, I think they know a little bit more than what they're doing than combat veteran Bob.
Should be focused on war games. The fourth and final reason I'll give you why the military is shrinking. This one may hurt just a little bit, but when have I ever shied away from saying anything that I think? It's why you love me or you hate me in the comments. No one's kind of in between on this guy. I get it. Anyway, let me draw fire. Here we go. Army Chief of Staff General James McConville testified before Congress that only 23% of Americans aged 17 to 24 years old were qualified to serve without a waiver, down from 29%. That's a 6% drop in just a couple years. This primarily boils down to obesity, drug use, or a criminal record. The amount of people even eligible to join the military is retracting year over year after year as we're just glued into our screens, our video games, our TV shows, and our non-stop Skinner box loop of social media instant gratification that we have become fat and lazy and apathetic. Couple that with the victimhood culture that seems to be rising up from the ground all the time, we're becoming weaker and weaker as a society. Check this out. A DoD, Department of Defense survey, found recently that 57% of all young respondents believe that joining the military would leave them physically, psychologically, and emotionally broken after serving. Now, it's like, yeah, you're gonna get some PTSD stuff, and well, I got some, bugs and whatnot. Yeah, you get hurt, but guess what? Life hurts you too. And I don't question for a moment that 57% of respondents have that level of just terrified. It's not that they'll be injured, it's that they'll be broken by it. And in our incessant snowflake, I'm injured and offended by everything kind of culture, I bet that stat is absolutely true. We're not only getting fatter, we're getting mentally, spiritually weaker as a.
So this is a big reason for why people don't join the military. Okay. I'll tell you this now. Like I said, both of my parents spent each 30 years in the military. So in total, my family, just my like nuclear family, my two parents spent 60 years in the military combined about. And I have family members who have served in almost every single war that America's been in as soldiers. Okay. This is all true. From the Civil War to the Vietnam War, Korean War, World War II, I don't believe it was World War One, but I believe World War Two. We were my family was there as well. My parents. I was in New York when the World Trade Center went down. Right. My parents, they didn't go fight, but they were a part of like Desert Storm and everything. And sitting here and looking at all these people who have suffered, who have died, who have taken their own lives, who have been used, abused, and thrown away, and nobody cared about them anymore, especially the military that sent them to be broken in the first place. Why in the world would anyone join the military if they know that's what's going to happen to them? Be honest. Why would you join the military if like you need like some shitty late night TV show comedian to go argue for your defense as you slowly wither away and die from your service in the military, and you have to worry about like going to work or church this Sunday because you're not sure if you're going to be able to pay your bills while also paying for the medicine that the military won't help you pay after they give you the disease that you're suffering with these days that's cutting years, decades off your life, right? Why in the world would anyone do that? Why? And on that note, why would you be a firefighter after you saw what happened to the firefighters during 9/11? Why? Why in the world would you become a part of the military if you just see the military like like fucking over soldiers and veterans day in and day out? When it comes to the VA and like attempts to cut the VA and make the VA worse and less able to take care of people. When it comes to like when it comes to other veteran services, when making sure that they stay out of jail, making sure they stay off of drugs, making sure that they can get back into the workforce in their civilian jobs. What about like being able to take care of their kids and everything? Whatever happened to that? My mom told me like years ago, and I'll never forget this. My mom told me that she would strangle me. She would kill me. Okay, if I tried to join the military. She doesn't want me to join the military. Once again, my parents both spent in total 60 years in the military, about. And after all of that, she said she'll kill me. Not even try. She will kill me if I try and join the military. She doesn't want me there because she knows how people get treated there. She knows what happens, and it's all the military's fault for these types of things happening. For how they treat people, for how we've treated the world with our military, and how we treat the people in the military. And the thing that he's not going to talk about in this video is the like discrimination for soldiers when they come back from being deployed, right? Like there are lots of people who see a veteran, and especially if they're like a combat veteran, and go, "Oh my gosh, they're gonna snap and shoot up the entire place," you know? They're like, "Oh my gosh, this person is completely fucking mentally broken," right? He's like, "I got a little bit of PTSD. I got a little bit of bugs." Okay, why would you add on top of that if you could just like get normal PTSD from waking up at 7:30 a.m. To go to school rather than going to shoot people and watching your friends get their heads blown off, you know? How about instead of that? I want like normal PTSD, especially if I'm not going to get anything from it. Yeah, a little bit of brain worms. Don't worry, we can tell. We can tell. It's okay. Yeah, for oil. Yeah, going to defend some like oil fields instead of going to defend like America or something. No, nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be a part of that. It's our veterans get treated so astronomically horribly. Our people in the armed services get like abused, assaulted, degraded, broken, and then thrown away by the military. And then these people are left racking their brains and saying, "Oh, instead of that being the reason why nobody wants to join, and that we use our military to go defend oil fields and not freedom, we go and bomb children in the Middle East and do all of these things that are not conducive to actually making a safer and better world." It must be wokeness. It must be the gay people. It must be the progressives, for the reason being that we have why it's so much harder to get people into the military. It's definitely not the fact that we're throwing away these people's entire lives who signed their lives away, right? Oh man, who could have seen this coming?
Society. Guys, this was the 4 reasons why our military is hemorrhaging. It's a really, really bad sign, and it's indicative of the decline of culture. It's indicative of authoritarianism, which is creeping up insidiously into our institutions of power, and we need to talk about it absolutely.
Authoritarianism. Asking you not to make a bunch of like deprecating jokes about your fellow servicemen who are going to probably have to save your life here in like the next couple of years while you're deployed. That's authoritarian. You're in the military. What the fuck are you talking about? You get told what to do and then you do it. It's the military. What are you talking about? It's supposed to. What are you talking about? What's happening? All right, whatever. I guess.
Miss anything, guys? I want to see in the comments what you.
He did miss a lot. He missed a lot. Huge miss. Incredible miss. All right. I've seen what happens to people who go to the military and who catch things like PTSD and who aren't helped by the military that was supposed to take care of them. This is just wrong. It's just terrible, right? It's disgusting, and that's the big reason for why nobody wants to join the military. All right. It's not wokeness. It's not the they them army. It's not Biden. It's specifically because of people like that keep in the old draconian systems that lead people to killing themselves, not wanting to be a part of the military and not caring at all. And didn't even hit on like the poverty and like what's going on at home that makes people want to do drugs, that makes people feel like they need to commit crimes, or things along those lines, or mental issues that makes people not want to join or unable to join. Didn't even talk about that, but whatever, I guess. It's definitely like women and gay people. That's the reason. Pregnancy pilot suits. That's the reason why the military is so weak these days. Sure, buddy. Sure, buddy.